Thanks for coming. Thanks for having me. I'm Carmen. I'm going to talk to you today about a project that I work on called MargieMap. And I like to map the internet, which, if you're wondering what that means, don't worry. I will tell you here in a second. So just a little bit about me. You can find me on Twitter. I like to blog. The project is margiemap.com. I think it's super cool. I hope you check it out. If I'm talking too fast or anything, just let me know. Funny story, don't do a deploy on the same day that you're speaking at OKC.js. That is a bad plan. Learned my lesson. So I'll just jump right in. The internet it's a pretty big deal. I guess there's no Anchorman fans in here. I thought that was really funny. The point that I'm trying to make right now is we have come to a point where the internet is pretty ubiquitous. I usually talk about, like, have you been on the internet, but I'm going to ask a different question this time. Has anybody seen the new Marie Kondo thing on Netflix? Everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? Thanks to the internet. So just a point that, like, it's connecting everyone, more than just Netflix, of course. You know, like, we're all doing our jobs on the internet, you know, studying, research, anything you need to do, you need to be on the internet. So I would ask the question, if you're not online, where are you? This is a story from 2010 where Bill Nye was at Columbia University. And the interesting part of the story is that he passed out. He's like up lecturing just like I am, and he passes out. And the interesting part of that is not the fact that he passed out, but the fact that, like, everybody started pulling out their phones and, like, putting it all over social media, like snapping pictures. Like, nobody got up to help Bill Nye. Everyone was like, look, Bill Nye, he's passed out. So he was fine, in case you're wondering. But the thing that I think this brings to the forefront is, if it's not on the internet, is it happening? You know, like the old thing, like if a tree falls in the woods and there's no one to hear it. If it's not on the internet, is it really happening? It's debatable, right? Like, how do we get our news? Like, how do we know what's happening? So, all of that to say that while probably everyone in this room has pretty consistent, solid internet access, there are lots of people in the United States who don't. 77% of Americans have smartphones, which is how a lot of people access the internet. However, there is a large percentage of Americans, 20%, who can only access the internet on their smartphone. So even if they had a computer, they don't have internet access on it, they don't have internet access at their house, they don't have it close by, something along these lines. So smartphone dependent can mean, I mentioned, like, you have a smartphone but you don't have internet at your house. You have a smartphone, but you don't have internet nearby, like Starbucks, Panera, IHOP, you know, wherever you might go, a library, to access the internet. You don't have that close by. And it can mean both. You have a smartphone, but maybe you live in a rural area where internet is cost prohibitive, and you're far enough from a location that has internet to where that's also prohibitive. And so this can mean some real difficulties for people's lives. This Pew Research study that I'm referencing talked about individuals who were having to access internet on their smartphones were using it to do things like look up medical diagnoses. Like, to me, that's pretty yikes, having to research something like that on your phone. So just something to keep in mind. There are a couple of predictors of what can cause your internet to be, or cause you to be smartphone dependent, not have access. One of them is age. So the bracket between 18 and 29 years old, we see it a lot there. It can also be ethnicity. Latino and Black Americans experience this at higher rates than other people. The largest predictor is income, which is, like, we're getting to the map, so stay with me. Nearly a third of people, 31% of people who have an income under $30,000 are smartphone dependent. So that is by far the largest predictor of whether or not someone will be smartphone dependent. So all of this brings me to what I'm here to talk to you about today, which is my map. So I've kind of known for a while that income was going to be connected to internet access, right? Because like it costs money. You've got the continuing cost of service, right, where you pay Cox or Comcast or whomever, but then you've also got the hardware, and then you've also got the actual machine that you're going to use to access the internet. So when I read this study, I was kind of like, yeah, okay. So what I wanted to do, what I would like to show you, open a new tab. There we go, is the map itself. So this is what it looks like. You will notice lots of blue and then lots of orange. The blue represents income. So you've got those really heavy blues. If we zoom in on Oklahoma, down in like Lawton, you'll see some really, really heavy blues. Those are lower income areas, and it kind of fades into this pink, and that says the income is rising. So does somebody want to like shout out a place they want to check out? A city or something like that? Ardmore. Thank you, Lucas. Okay, Ardmore, Oklahoma. Okay, so it's kind of a lighter blue, and then we've got this heavier part right here. I've lost my mouse. So the heavier part, I don't know if you can read that, but it says the median income for census tract whatever in Carter County is $21,256. So that's per year, and that's for a household. So pretty rough. We can look out around that. And this one says that the median income is $31,927. Now you might remember that I mentioned that 30,000 is kind of the cutoff point for like when you're far more likely to be smartphone dependent. Well, it's pretty close to 30,000. So I didn't come here to bum you guys out. I think that the map is pretty cool. I'm going to talk real quick about how I did it. Kind of the question that I was trying to answer was, is there a correlation between income and library access? Because we can probably agree that if you have the income to have internet, you need a public library less. The reason I picked public libraries was because they're just a place that you can go. It's not like Starbucks where you have to pay, you have to keep buying coffee or, things like that. Like you can just go and be there, and they offer a lot more resources besides just internet. But the thing that they offer that a Starbucks or a Panera isn't going to offer is a computer, right? So like, I'm fine, I have a laptop, I can take it with me, but if you don't even have that, the library will even give you that. So that was what I was trying to visualize with the map, and I've been doing some more data analysis to actually see, like, is there a correlation, like, by the numbers? So the things that we needed were census data, and if you are interested in this, I have linked to the census data that I was using. You can go check it out. We also need library data. I've linked to that as well. And we're going to use a JavaScript library called Turf.js. Is anybody familiar with Turf in here? Okay, don't worry, I have examples. And then the last thing we need, I really could have just put patients. If you've ever worked with government data, it's just some of the ugliest stuff I've ever seen in my life. It's terrible. So there was a lot of angst in getting it converted to something that I could use. I will link to the repository so you can go see some of the scripts that I used. So if you're not familiar with Turf, it is a library maintained by Mapbox. Mapbox is the mapping engine that I use to host the map that I was just showing you. And what Turf allows you to do is it allows you to analyze geospatial data. So what does that mean? In my case, it means that I had a list of points, those were the libraries, and I had a list of polygons, which were the counties, and I was saying, hey, how many libraries are in this county? And things like that. A couple of quick examples. This one is Envelop. So what this does is you pass in a set of points, which you can see we're doing in that feature collection. And what this will return to you is a polygon that has all of those points within it. So that can be really handy if you're wanting to, you have a shape that you want. Another one that can be really handy, if you already have a polygon or a shape on the map and you want to find the center of it, this is a really simple way to find the center of it. The great thing about Turf is you don't have to write this stuff yourself, it's already there, because I wouldn't want to write this stuff myself. Yeesh. We also have distance. This I think is probably a really commonly used one. You pass in 2 points, you can set options. Some of the options were kilometers. There were also radians. I don't know why you would want those, but it's an option. It'll give you back the distance in radians, and it just gives you back the distance. Pretty handy. And then this was the one that I used the most, this points within. So what you do is you specify the points that you want to search for. In my case, it was this list of over probably 1,000 libraries. I never counted exactly how many, but it was a lot. So I passed in a list of points, and I gave it a specific place, a county in most cases, that I wanted to search. And I said, give me the libraries that exist within this county. And that's how I was able to see, this county doesn't have any. This one has, Los Angeles County had the most. If you want a little tidbit of information, it had 256. So that was by far the most libraries in a single county. The next one was, I think, 160. So pretty big gap. I thought that was interesting. So all these Turf functions, all this good stuff, is there actually any correlation between income and library access? Does anybody want to guess before I tell you? No? You guys are lame. So yes, actually, I have seen that there is a correlation between income and libraries. So what have I seen? So first thing I did, just easy peasy, I did a sort for every county. I have income data for every county from the census. And I said, give me the top 10 counties and give me the bottom 10 counties. And this is what I found. The top 10 counties, between all 10 of them, had 166 libraries across all of them. The bottom 10 counties had 16 across all of them. So that's not to say that there aren't counties that are well above the median for the United States for income, but it kind of does show you've got a better chance of having library access if you live in a wealthier county. Of the bottom 10, I think that the highest number that I saw was 7. So one county had 7 libraries. Most of them were under 5. A little bit more. So I mentioned that 30,000 number. If you don't remember, 30,000 is where we really start to see you are far more likely to be smartphone dependent. There are 81 counties in the United States where the median income is under 30,000. So I don't think, Lucas, you mentioned Ardmore, Oklahoma before. I don't think that it is in this list, but it's pretty close. Every single county that makes under 30,000 for their median income has less than 10 libraries. The most I saw was 8. But when we look at counties over 100,000, there are 19, and most of those have at least 7. There were a few. Yes, go ahead. The question was, is this 19 counties in Oklahoma or is it across the United States? This is across the entire United States. And the same is true for the previous slide where there were 81 counties. That's across the entire United States. So we had quite a bit more. Again, this is not to say that if you live in a wealthier county, you're absolutely going to have library access. It's just what I'm seeing when I look at these counties is that you're more likely to have access if you live in a wealthier county than if you live in a less wealthy county. So, yes, question?
Did you look at population in the counties with respect to the number of libraries?
The question was, did I look at population in the county with respect to the libraries? And the answer is kind of. So these numbers don't account for population. I did do some sorts to look at population, and what I found for, wrong way. Spoiler alert. What I found for this one, so the counties in the United States under $30,000, is that the population will be all over the board. So there will be some with like quite a bit higher population and some where it's like obviously a really rural area with like less than 400 households or something like that. But it's very consistently like there's always less than 10. There was not a single one that was over 10, even for, you know, a larger population. So that's kind of my next step is like controlling for that. But just what I've seen so far, I think there is a correlation.
So I noticed you have 10 libraries is counted as less than the 7 libraries in Leaflet?
Yes, so like I said, there were some counties that did have less, like there was Los Alamos, New Mexico, for instance. That was one that has only 2, but other than that, they were all at least 7, and then greater than that. There were a handful that were 7, and then most of them were over 10. I can show you those if you're interested. So, what can we do? I am a huge fan of offline everything. Service workers are my jam. IndexedDB is my jam. Part of why I put this together was to, again, just see, like, is there anything here? And as far as I can tell so far, yes. I'm definitely not a data scientist, but, like, this is the data I've been messing with, and this is what I've found. In terms of implementing offline in our applications, it's not just a business thing, although like there are a lot of arguments to go ahead and do this to help your business side, and I would love to talk to you about those because I think those are super interesting as well. But I think there's a real altruistic, for lack of a better word, altruistic reason for implementing offline tech in that we have individuals who are really in need of access who aren't able to get it, and this helps bridge that gap for those individuals. Also supporting legacy browsers, so I don't have any data for this, but it's probably a pretty safe assumption that if you are a lower income individual, you're probably not on the latest and greatest tech. So if we could support legacy browsers, I think that would also be very helpful. Yes? Are there any counties that are greater than 100,000 in Oklahoma? No, I don't think so. From my memory, which could fail me, but from my memory, the highest county that I've seen was about 77,000. Supporting mobile is going to be a really big thing in this because we've seen that like if you're under $30,000 for your median income, you're more likely to be smartphone dependent. So you're going to be looking up everything on your phone. So making sure we have really solid mobile support is also really going to help. And then just really being aware of this issue and knowing that it's a thing and that this is something that we need to support and having a plan for your app, because I've shown a lot of data to talk about the income side of it, but the truth is everybody's going to go offline at one time or another. It's not a matter of your income. I mean, your router's going to go out, your Amazon's going to go down. You know, these things are going to happen, and they're going to happen to everybody. Income's not going to save you. So having a plan, like what's my app going to do when this happens, because it is a when, it is not an if. Having a plan for when that happens is just really crucial. And I think that was all I had, unless we have any questions. Yes? The question was, if you draw a polygon, what if there's a curve? Turf will take that into account. So the library itself has all sorts of algorithms in it that's accounting for these things, so I don't really have to do anything. The library is accounting for that.
Is Turf, like, how does that relate to Leaflet? Is it like a new version of Leaflet, or is it like a library that works with Leaflet, or is it separate?
So the question was, how does Turf work with Leaflet? Leaflet is a separate thing from Mapbox. It's not really related to Leaflet. Yes?
So it looks like you're just barely right now tapping the surface of what you want to find as far as data. Do you have a wish list of the different types of questions you want to have answered by this?
The question was, do I have a wish list of what I want to find? And yes, I do. I would like to continue looking. Somebody asked about Oklahoma. So right now I've really just looked at a national level, and I've seen like, it seems like it's more likely that if you have a lower income, you have less libraries near you. I'd like to look at that at a state level and see if that carries through, and then like just like really like tunnel down into it, and then actually like find some mathematics that will back me up on this, because currently like I've shown you all of this, but it's really just like eyeballing and spot checking. I don't have any like machine learning or anything to help back me up. So that's kind of where I would like to go next. Yes?
Is Mapbox free?
Is Mapbox free? The short answer is yes, it depends. So they charge on views if you run out of views, and it's like a really high in the thousands number of views. So I'm on the free plan. I've never been charged. If you are wanting to use this for like a work kind of thing, then probably you'll be charged, but it just depends on how many views you get per month. More questions? All right, super. I'll pass it off. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.